meters, and he really did have a few key runs. When he went off the pitch, was one of the times where they dipped in intensity,
Right.
which is not something I'd necessarily expected from talking about Tom Alderson in the past. It just seemed like an also ran, but this
Steady Tom Alderson.
there
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go, yeah.
absolutely.
And Stephen Marshall squeaking because there wasn't too many other people to come up with. He had a try and 2 clean breaks in. His try came off an arguably forward pass in the build-up, but he took it well, and it was really good, incisive, quick attacking play to get them up the field there on that one. That was when they were looking good in the game. Right, we'll move on to a game that you were at that we
Yes.
don't have much more than what you're going to tell us about to talk about, I think. So after I've given you the score of Wakefield 22, Huddersfield 4, in front of a disappointing but probably understandable-ish 4,055, in front of Gareth Hewer, who is not used to this sort of weather, but he
No.
muddles through in any case. You were there. You watched this one. You peered through the mist. You picked up on the orange ball, and you followed it around the park. So what happened, other than me
Well,
knowing that there was an orange ball?
Gareth Hewer kept his disappointment to one side by blowing the whistle plenty of times for penalties. But yeah, it was a good game. It was good to go see something as a neutral. Obviously, Bradford's game was off, so I thought it was either a trip to Wakey or over to St Helens for me. And I thought, well, Wakefield was a bit easier, a bit
Yeah,
closer, so I've headed over there, and I kind of figured that there'd be less there. Quite frankly, and I wasn't wrong. But to be fair, in terms of numbers, I mean, obviously 4,000 isn't a great crowd. It's not by any imagination. But actually, the atmosphere was pretty good in the ground. It was decent atmosphere. Obviously, it was only open on the three sides.
that'll help,
Um,
wouldn't it? Yeah, rather than having the spattering of away fans sort of behind the dugouts. Yeah.
Yeah, so the minibus of Huddersfield fans were kind of on the main stand side. No, that's been a bit unfair. I did see quite a few claret bobble hats kind of around the place. So yeah, but it was a good game. I really enjoyed it.
I hear there was a great
It
finish for one of Ben Jones Bishop's tries.
Well, yes, I mean, to me, he was the standout player. I mean, every time I kind of made a little note about something that somebody had done well, it was BJB was written down. So he was great for training, and so was the Mason Caton Brown on the other side as well. I mean, it's a good problem to have three high quality wingers that Train have.
That all go
Um,
almost try a game over the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years. Well, certainly since Caton Brown's been there, is banged in the tries, and the other two have kept scoring too.
they are as a three. Obviously Wigan have got three great wingers or more even. But yeah, but Trinity have got three really really good players kind of out wide, and most of the play went through them. Most of the good stuff kind of came through them. It was an interesting game actually when you look back at the stats. I mean, Giants actually started out really well. Their kicking game early on was really good. Brough nearly kicked a 40-20. And Grix kind of made a bit of a mess of it, and that kind of ended up being a feed. So normal service there. But yeah, so they forced three
If
kind of goal line dropouts.
that's right, if I'm right, they basically dominated the first 20 minutes with all these goal line dropouts. So they were putting the pressure on. Was their attack just not finding an opportunity, or was it good defence from Wakefield to cover up those sort of opportunities and force the dropouts?
It was a bit of both. I mean, the kicking game obviously came to the fore because they weren't making the breaks. So they had all the field position, but they weren't really challenging. They were kind of they weren't. They didn't really seem to have a cutting edge. They seemed to be going backwards and forwards along the line, and they weren't really committing anybody.
Right.
And therefore Wakefield were able to cope with it. And
Because when
they,
Wakefield went up the other end and earned their first repeat set in attack, they scored, didn't they, on the next set?
they scored straight away. Yeah, exactly. So there was that slight cutting edge. I mean, the Giants got their only try through. Again, it was just through persistence, and it was from a little bit of enterprise, half a break, kind of the only time in the entire game really where they got Wakefield players out of position. And their try kind of out with Gaskell out wide. It was just because there was nobody there, because all the players from outside had come in to kind of make covering tackles.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go on.
No, you go.
So yeah, I mean, it was tight at half time, only 6-4, and it was competitive. It was good.
Was that kind of the half time when it turned? Because if I understand right, then basically Huddersfield came out of the dressing room, got their discipline. That was when the 2 points started getting taken for penalties, and Kroons-Liebing was put in the sin bin because his old team had kept giving away penalties.
Yeah, it was not Kroons-Liebing's fault by any means. I mean, I kept making a note, so I got up to it was the 7th penalty, I think. So there were 3 back-to-back penalties. Finn kicked the 4th, and then he kicked the 5th. After that there was a team warning. And then the 6th of those penalties, then Lehman was put in the sin bin. And then there was another one after that, I think, actually. So it was just a run of just infringements at the play of the ball. It was just little things. There was nothing. There's nothing nasty, nothing malicious. It was just they were just losing the collision. They were just getting beaten.
So do you think that sort of just wore the Giants out in that first 15 minutes or so? Because from what I can tell, they didn't mount any sort of fight back, or did they? Are the reports a bit misleading on that?
They had no ball for that first 20 minutes, and they were basically either stood behind the posts or kind of retrieving the ball, kind of exits, that type of things, and it just didn't really click for them. And then I think the second Ben Jones Bishop try kind of just really killed them off. It was a very well worked try, actually. I think they'd been quite contained at training in attack. They'd kind of been quite process driven, but it was the one time I think the game was moving on time wise. They felt a bit more confident. There was a lot of ball movement, and it was a nice kick out wide, and he took it really well.
And at that point, they had the sort of full 6 point lead, didn't they? With the goal kicks, penalty kicks, and stuff. So they could take a few more chances, couldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. As I say, it was a really good try. Great kick by Finn. He was my man of the match. He kind of, it's a bit of a cliche to say he played the game in a dinner jacket, but you could tell by the end his kit was noticeably cleaner than any other person on the pitch. So he was kind of just, kind of at his stage of his career. That's his job, isn't it? It's to pull and push the people around.
Yeah, exactly. Miller's the runner, or Hampshire off the bench or something. They're the runners, aren't they? He's the conductor. So Finn was good. Trinity, good value for the 4 out of 4 for the start of the season. That's a record for them in Super League.
Absolutely, you can't argue with it. I mean, you could say they've been playing. They haven't hit any. They haven't kind of hit a potential top 4 side, other than themselves potentially.
They had Catalan, didn't they? They've had
Salford. Have they played Salford?
Yes, they shouldn't have beat Salford, should they? That was the television game, and they were lucky. They were lucky in that one. So that showed their grit and ability to grind out a win, I suppose. They were similar-ish against Catalan as well, really. So they've shown, good back end to games defensively, which stands them in good stead. Okay, we'll move on to the final game of the weekend, and we've focused on those 3 games that we've talked about a lot now, because I don't have a lot to say about this last one. I'm assuming you didn't catch much of it either.
Just the tries and the bit of the highlights, really.
I've not even seen the tries. I listened to the second half on the radio, though, but it ended after a runaway second half. St Helens 34, Salford 2. It was only 8-2 at half time. That was in front of 10,008, which is a really good crowd for a rearranged over the weekend fixture, so that's a positive tick in St Helens and Salford's book. Scott Michalauskas was the man with the whistle, and in terms of the stats, they suggest Salford were their own worst enemy in this game, and the radio commentary kind of came across with this as well, because one of the lines that they said, I think it was Phil Kinsella said, scrum to St Helens 10 metres out from the own line. God, how many times have we said that? Pretty much every time Salford have attacked. So 2.8% worst team tackle success rate, 13-7 penalty count. Oh, we didn't do the stats from Wakefield, did we? Oh, I apologise.
No, we didn't.
Right, let's go back.
Go back,
Huddersfield
go
had
back, go back.
Huddersfield had slightly more metres and made them a better average gain, as well as having a 2.2% better team tackle success. However, Wakefield were better at making and taking their chances. 3 tries to 1, 5 breaks to 3. Crucially, and one of the things you touched on, 5 fewer errors and 5 fewer penalties from Wakefield, so they managed to control possession and control their own heads. So,
Sorry, yeah, but just very briefly, the errors, a lot of the errors kind of came from Giants kind of just pushing it towards the end, and the last try they conceded was a free play. It was kind of a mistake and then a free play. So, a lot of those mistakes were late on when they were well behind.
Individually, Ben Jones-Bishop 2 tries, 108 metres, 3 clean breaks. Matty Ashurst 53 tackles, 13 marker tackles, but he did pick up a grade A dangerous contact penalty notice and will miss the game against the Wigan Warriors next week. David Fafita 6 tackle bus, 110 metres. Bill Tupu 1 try assist, 123 metres. So good performances there for Trin. For the losing Giants, Ryan Hinchcliffe worked hard, 55 tackles, 12 of which were marker tackles. I think he goes unnoticed a lot quiet in the middle there, working his butt off.
To be honest, I didn't notice him much.
No, Jake Mamo.
It's because he was at the bottom of a ruck most of the time. It looks like.
Yeah, snaky Jake Mamo, 120 metres. Jermaine McGilvery, 7 tackle-bus, 140 metres. And Lee Gaskell, he was the man who grabbed the try. He also had 5 tackle-bus and 2 clean breaks, so did offer a threat there. Back to the team that definitely are offering a threat in Super League so far, St Helens. So I'll go through the stats, and then you can go through the highlights and stuff like that. So stats suggest Salford were their own worst enemy in the game, 2.8% worst team tackle success rate, 13-7 penalty count, and 17-9 error count. I mean, big deficits across the board there. Saints were good value though, 8 to 4 in clean breaks, 125 more metres than their visitors. They certainly turned it on in the second half, and one of the key instigators of that was Ben Barber. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 11 tackle bus, 105 metres, 3 clean breaks, and he was a real threat every time. The commentators got excited on the radio. It was because Ben Barber had the ball in his hands. Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook with a try, 5 tackle bus, 131 metres. I think he came on early-ish and did quite big minutes because I think John Wilkin picked up a concussion. Luke Thompson, he did. He picked up a concussion, and it was from Mark Flanagan. So it's going to be an interesting Whippets and Flat Caps podcast this week. Luke Thompson with a try, richly deserved for him, 152 metres. He's definitely one of those Saints fans that Saints players I reluctantly have a lot of respect for. And another one is Alex Walmsley, 6 tackle bus and a massive 190 metres for Big Walmsley. Only a couple of players hitting statistical notes worth mentioning, really. Lee Mossop, 113 metres, was the biggest metre maker for the Salford Red Devils. Tyrone McCarthy, 45 tackles, 4 successful offloads, worked hardest in defence. Yeah, certainly Ben Barber is the highlight reel man, isn't he, from this game?
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, as I said, I only saw the highlights, so I'm about to people's knowledge of the 10,000 people who were there. But it seemed like there was lots of ball movement backwards and forwards along the line. So they had 125 more metres going forward, but they certainly had a considerable number of metres going sideways. but they were. It wasn't purposeless, they were looking for gaps, and Barber kind of exploited those gaps. And the last try, admittedly, it was in the last minute, the Thompson try was absolute class. They'd been probing for gaps, and obviously there's an amount of freedom that comes when you kind of 20 odd points up. But it really, they're a threat. They're clearly the best team so far. You can't argue with them, and pre-season favourites, you can't. They're certainly bearing that out as it stands.
Yeah, well, the games obviously, we know Hull KR versus Castleford and Leeds versus Catalan were both postponed. Rearrangement dates to be announced in due course, I suppose, on those ones. In terms of the standings, after 4 teams played this week, Saints and Wakey stay as the top 2 with 100% records. Wigan are third on 6 points from 4 games, followed by a group of 5 sides with 2 wins, but from various numbers of games. The bottom 4, though, in the early stages is Hull KR, Salford, Huddersfield, and winless Catalan, who many of their fans suggested had the best result of their season so far. with the game being postponed. In terms of predictions, Super Ruin Dream Team updates, obviously looking at the Super League results, 2 of them don't count from last week, but I went 4 out of 4. So